quietest moment.
Good time.
This is good. All right, the time is 6:30, so I will call to order the Monday, May 16th, 2022 Committee of the Whole meeting to order. We will start with the roll call.
Michael Murray.
Here.
Adam Gigas.
Here.
Richard Yerington.
Present.
Sean Savinsky. Here. John Glenn.
Here.
Mitchell Kale.
Here.
Lamont Kiefer.
Here.
Nellie Pater. Present. Dean Peterson.
Here.
All right, thank you. As always, I'll remind you, we have people online, so use your microphones whenever you're talking so that everyone in the meeting can hear. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 1, approval of minutes from April 18th, 2022.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion from Dean and a second from Richard. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the report section, we have agenda item number 2, request to appear by Chad Madison for consideration of renewal of Neil Driscoll's Beverage Operator's License.
So I can start this conversation off a little bit. So Neil had applied for a bartender license on April 25th, and it was recommended by both the chief of police and myself in the clerk's office to deny it based on an event that had happened in 2020. It was a crime involving alcohol. So he and Chad Madsen are here tonight to appeal the denial of the bartender license renewal.
This wasn't an original request, not a renewal.
This is a renewal, and I think Chief might have a little bit to say about it
The
too.
renewal.
This is a renewal.
Okay.
Hello.
Hey, Chief.
So, yes, one of the questions per the ordinance that we have with bartender licenses, within the past 10-year period, if there's an alcohol-related felony conviction, that's grounds for disapproval. This was a pretty significant case. I don't know if you read the denial, but I mean, it's significant. We're lucky we don't have a funeral or two regarding this. There's a firearm involved, substantial battery, etc. But on the flip side, I want to give you guys the whole picture. So Mr. Driscoll has been, I don't know the years, Becky might, but he's been a bartender for the city, in the city of Tomah for several years. 6 years?
Yeah.
Historically, what we want from law enforcement, from our bartenders, are responsible serving and to call us when there's a problem. The 1100 block of Superior Avenue, where all the bars are, historically there's problems there. And what we want our bartenders to call us if there's disturbances or whatever. And Mr. Driscoll has done that several times. In fact, I looked him up. Reporting party for a disturbance in 2016. A cooperating witness to a disturbance on the 1100 block of Superior in 2018. Twice in 2019, a reporting party and witness to substantial battery or battery to a police officer, another disturbance. 2 times in 2020, a reporting party for a disturbance, and once for bail jumping. And then yet here in 2022, he called in a fight on the 1100 block Superior and a disturbance on the 1100 block Superior. So he's doing or has done what we want him to do. He just has this one incident that was significant, and that was the basis of the denial, but it is a renewal request. Any questions I can answer for anybody?
So, he's looking for a renewal. I mean, what is your recommendation based on the 2020?
The basis of my denial was, Becky and I have talked about this, and we talk together on these. The reason for the denial is because it's a alcohol-related felony within the past 10 years. That's in the ordinance. Okay, so that is grounds for denial. Our approach is to follow the ordinance and then provide you folks with the whole story, and then you guys can make your decision on whether you want to continue the denial that we recommend, or reverse that initial decision. Now, my personal opinion, I'm comfortable with Mr. Driscoll being a bartender, if that's what you're asking.
Chief, when it says, I'm sorry, Mitch, you have a question? Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna make a comment. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay, I just wanna touch base too. I've, known Neil here for many years, and I just wanna say that he is a great upstanding citizen, but, you know, we all make mistakes, so I would recommend that we approve of his, license, is my recommendation.
All right, thank you, Mitch. One thing, just so I understand, there's a statement here, while the incident happened in July of 2020, the case wasn't disposed of until March 30th, 2022. What does that mean?
That means that you're not convicted of any crime until a circuit court judge deems there'll be a date on judgment of conviction. That's when the actual case is completed, and punishment for that crime is handed down in one form or another. So there is a 2-year gap. So the crime starts, and then we have a bunch of court proceedings and motion hearings and whatnot. But the judgment of conviction was in 2022.
So is there anything given the 2 years, or is it just that things have been slow because of COVID?
Is there anything what?
Significant in the gap?
With Mr. Driscoll?
Yeah, in terms of, I guess I don't understand a lot about how fast the cases kind of go.
Oh, it depends. It depends. Different cases. This was a significant case. So there's a lot, and there were 2 people involved, so there's 2 criminal parts of this. So there's a lot of litigation going back and forth between attorneys.
Awesome. Thank you. Now you had a question?
Yeah, what happens after, if he's convicted, what would be would he lose his bartender license at all?
No, he is convicted.
Oh, okay.
So he was convicted of, I believe it's 2 counts of felon in possession of a firearm and 1 count of stalking use of a dangerous weapon. That's accurate? Yeah. So he's been convicted, he's been punished. I think he got a year in jail. That started in April of this year. But he's able to be released on Huber and electronic monitoring program. That's usually an ankle bracelet, GPS. And then he would be subject to rules of Department of Corrections. And I'm assuming you would be able to work?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
So when it says felon in possession of a firearm, he was already a felon before he had this firearm?
He would have to be.
Yes, that is true.
Any questions for Chief?
I have one question. So is he, can he be in a tavern?
That's a rule of probation. You'd be on, are you on probation yet?
I am on probation on top of my,
No, you come
I want you to stand forward so you can get towards the microphone.
I'm up here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I haven't been to one of these before.
No, it's good. Some of us don't know we're doing either, so you're.
So I am on electronic monitoring program. Technically, I'm in jail, but concurrently, I'm also on 5 years of probation through the probation and parole department, on top of the electronic monitoring program.
Okay.
So the only tavern I can go into, obviously, is the one I'm working at while I am working. I cannot go into any other bars or taverns for any reason outside of that.
Okay. So as long as there's active employment and
Yes.
active hours of shift, then you're good to go. Okay. Does that track, Chief, with what you've seen before?
Yeah, that's typical.
Okay. Awesome. Yep. Thank you very much. Anything else for Chief before we ask Chad to come up? Okay, thanks, Chief. Chad, if you want to come on up. When you come up here, just state your name, your address, and then you're able to speak your piece.
Hello, my name is Chad Madison, and I'm here obviously for Neil. I own the Break Room Sports Bar and Grill at 1123 Superior Avenue. Do you need my home address?
No,
Okay.
business owner's fine.
So anyway, I definitely know anything there is to know about that man. He's worked for me for the last 6 years, for the break room, and also helps me with my lawn care business. He's actually one of the few people that are going through his monitoring system where they have allowed him to work both jobs because he works directly for me. I'm in contact with them every week or more if needed be with the Department of Justice involving what his current schedule is. And, you know, if something happens and we need him to be called in, I can email or call them and let them know that we would need him earlier, or if there's any change in his schedule at all. So that's been going good. Like I said, he's been a employee of mine for 6 years, and I guess I'm just here asking you if you could consider approving it. Obviously, we all know that it's difficult these days finding employees, and trying to replace 6 years of experience is even more hard, so. Any questions?
Yeah, Chad, is he gonna be on call, or is he gonna work full-time for you, or is he gonna be working in the evenings versus the days?
So, we normally have a set schedule for him lately, and that as far as break room goes, he's on call and he works Friday and Saturday evenings, which is generally our busiest time. We've found that it's been working better for us to have 2 people bartending, you know, because it's just been kind of busy downtown. So, I mean, he's just so flexible at the break room that he wears many hats on many days. So, yes, he works full-time. Not all of it's at the break room, but the nights that we've been using him, it has been bartending, and it has been in the evening.
Are you on the premises when he works, or
No, not normally.
you have someone that supervises during when he's working, correct?
There is a manager on duty for most of it. As far as the other half, when he is, I would say he is the most veteran employee. Most instances, he has keys for my bar, my office, my home. I mean, if we go on vacation, he's the one checking my mail. I trust him with everything that I have. So, obviously, I'm here supporting him, you know.
Thanks.
Yep.
Any other questions for Chad?
Well, what's your thoughts on what he did? The actual violation seems a little on the heavy-handed side.
Yeah, no, absolutely. In fact,
So I'm quite wondering why you would want someone like that. We might get upset and go home and get a firearm and come back and.
well,
I'm a bit confused. I'm no bar owner, but I'm
absolutely.
skeptical.
Like I was saying, absolutely. I think this is one of those moments where I look at it more of a parent, you know, looking at, you know, someone that they care about or a friend. Am I happy that happened? Absolutely not. Does that make me worry about what he's going to do at my place? Not even in the slightest. He's a veteran of the United States military. He's always done great by me, my family, my children. I probably wouldn't have even gotten through half of what I got through when we were dealing with my son's cancer if it wasn't for him helping us out in every stretch of the way. I think that he is probably one of the best people I've met, like good, you know, a good person. And I think that sometimes good people go about things the wrong way. And I think this is unfortunately a very huge case of someone good going about it the wrong way. You know, I think that he has matured since then. I mean, we are talking 2 years ago. He has since gotten a girlfriend, gotten engaged, just, you know, hunkered down and focused more on them rather than anything else, you know, so. I could see a lot of employers just saying, that's you, and I've just never been able to sit back and not try to help or, you know, be part of, you know, whatever I can. So I know if the roles were switched, he would be here probably every single day trying to help me out in some way or form, so. That's why I'm 100% confident that he would do great, and I'm here to support him.
Okay, Lamont, go ahead.
Thank you, yes.
John and then Richard?
Yeah, just one question. So, this happened like in 2020. I mean, since then, he's been bartending, but he's been contacting the police when he's supposed to and doing the right thing.
Yeah, well, he didn't have to contact anyone until the conviction, which I believe was April or beginning of.
I mean, like, if there's a disturbance.
Oh, yeah, no, he
Yeah, so
had
he's been doing like he's supposed
he's
to.
contacted them at least twice in
Yeah.
just 2022, I believe.
So he's, even though it happened in the past, he's been demonstrating for the last 2 years.
I
Actions like you should.
guarantee you, if you were to ask him, he has no ill will or towards, he's 100% supporter of the badge, you know? So he'll continue to contact them as long as he's employed for me.
Richard?
Now, I came in here tonight fully intending to vote to deny, but after hearing the Chief of Police report, I'm going to move that we approve his request.
I'll second it.
All right, I have a motion by Richard and a second by John to approve the renewal of the beverage operator's license. Any further discussion?
I do. So the bartender license is good for 1 year? Is that how we're doing it?
Bartender licenses are good for 2 years.
2
So
years.
this is the renewal starting in July 1st, 2022, and we'll go through June 30th of 2024.
Lamont, did you have something you want to say too?
Yeah, would it bother this body if we listened from the applicant himself? I would also like to hear what he's got to say about this particular event that happened.
Sure, Chad, I got one more question for you then. The last question I have, so he's been working for the last 2 years, so good employee in the last 2 years, no, any issues, anything like that?
Oh, yeah, no, he's been great. He's, like I said, he's worked for me for the last 6 at the break room and the other business. So, yeah, no issues, been great, normally in a great mood. I mean, obviously, the long process has been stressful, but 90% of the time, you know, leaves it at the door and comes in and smiles and laughs with the customers, and everything gets done quite well.
Did, the last question I have, did the original incident happen either while he was on shift or at the break room, or did this
Oh,
happen?
no, it was definitely not on shift, and it was definitely not at the break room.
Okay,
It had nothing to do with the 1100 clock.
all right, awesome. Any questions for Chad? Otherwise, I think, Lamont, you'd like to talk to Neil himself? Correct?
Yeah, I would just like to hear his version, if that's okay with the body.
All right, any other questions for Chad? I thank you. Neil, if you're willing to come up and answer some questions or say anything to represent yourself.
I'm more than willing to ask questions, yes.
All right, questions for Neil?
Yeah, I just like, could you give us your account of the incident itself? I'm real curious to hear
Okay.
how a gun ended up downtown,
Well,
pointed at somebody's head.
bad decisions, obviously. I shouldn't have had it in the first place. It all boils really down to that. I was drinking that night, yes, I was. It was actually while Dimensions was still a thing. I was outside in the front where people would congregate, and another gentleman struck a female in front of me. That's something I don't condone, And normally, I would not have taken things very far as I did, but alcohol kind of stopped my inhibitions there. The police ended up coming, and at that point, they talked to both of us. This was in front of the bank bar. Let me go, or told me I was free to go, and then in turn let that gentleman go. And as he was walking away, he looked at me and then ran his thumb across his neck. At that point, I decided to go home. And now what I normally do is when I lay down, I get the spins, and I don't want to throw up, I go for a walk down by the lake. And in my intoxicated state, I remembered that I had been threatened with harm, so that's when I grabbed my firearm, did not load it, and I took it with me. And then I ended up running into him on my walk, and then that's when the incident happened.
So this individual wasn't a customer of the break room, is what I'm hearing?
No, he was not.
Okay, or not someone that would be a regular that he would see?
No, I had actually not seen him ever in the break room at all. He usually frequented the bank and Dimensions.
I just have one question. I would just say that, you know, Chad is putting himself on the line by representing you here. And so he sounds like he's got very highly of you working for him. So I would hope that you would take that in consideration and make sure that you don't get into any more trouble. Because if you do, you know what's going to happen.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you're going to put Chad in that situation.
And that's
And
something I
he
would never
thinks
want.
very highly of you. So all I'm saying is, you know, be careful,
Yes, ma'am.
because you put both of you in jeopardy.
Yes, ma'am. And Chad is probably the best employer I've ever worked for. He's done things for me that no one would even think of, so. And that's one of the things that I hate about this whole situation the most, is that I've put him through so much.
And you got a new life now, you
Yes.
know? You're starting your life out pretty good, and, you know, girlfriend, wife, soon to be.
And I've
So-
since been going to AODA classes as well,
So that's good.
Alcoholics Anonymous and groups.
So keep that in mind, because when something happens, you put a lot of people involved. So we're gonna, sounds like the council's gonna give you a second chance.
So a shot was fired, but you didn't fire it?
No.
He took the gun away from you and
Yes.
turned to use it on you?
Because I could barely even stand.
Right.
Like I said, I did not load the firearm. He actually had to pull the chamber back and charge around himself. I was backing away from him and was using the firearm to tell him to get on the ground so I could flee the situation. Unfortunately, you know, evidence pointed otherwise, and I couldn't really fight it. So I am accepting the punishment that they gave me, and I'll say the same thing. I told the judge, you know, I was arrested by police officers doing their job. I was prosecuted by a DA doing his, and sentenced by a judge doing his. And that's just the way it has to be.
And you're not drinking anymore, right? You gave that up, correct? Okay.
Any other questions?
I have one more question.
Sure, go ahead.
Do you have a plan in place if you ever came in contact with this person? If you were to see him in the future?
Yes, I do.
And what would,
That plan is to leave immediately.
okay.
Does he have a restraining order from coming into the break room? Or?
Yes, we both have restraining orders from each other. He also cannot come to my place of business, where I work in the break room. And also he is also on a no bar, no drink. So
He what?
he's also on a no bars, no tavern, no drink, no drinking.
So it sounds like all the support framework is in place. Is there any other questions for Neil? All right, thank you very much, Neil, appreciate it. All right, so,
Can we just get one more thing clarified?
yeah, did you need?
And that was,
Yeah, so-
maybe not Neil, but for Chief Holm.
Oh,
And
sure.
you are in favor, you said, that you had no problems?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is all we're looking for is responsible serving of alcohol and people to call us when there's a problem. And I can't say that's always been the case through the years. I mean, I've been here for 23 years. There's times they kick them out the back door, and what happens in the alley happens in the alley, and we go there and pick up people laying in, puke and blood and whatever. I mean, Neil is actually calling us. You can't control the behavior of people, but you can let us know. We can't be everywhere. We could be on the north end dealing with whatever, and then we're flying down here to a disturbance. So he's doing what we want him to do, and there's a history of that.
You've never had any problems with him serving underage or?
No.
All right, any other questions?
So the only reason you're denying it is because of the offense?
Yes.
And would you take offense if we did allow it, or?
No, I don't take offense to any of this. I'm actually talking on his behalf.
Right, that's kind of what I was
And no,
thinking,
this
but I
is,
was.
we're doing our job, Becky and I are, and then
Denying it on
continues.
the ordinance?
Yeah, that continues with you folks, and you can put more discretion into it, and
Well, and I think what's his name, Neil, it's kind of, this body is just talking about it. Someone's on the border side of giving it to you, and the other ones are giving you another chance. So, I mean, that's something that puts us in jeopardy if we're doing the right thing or not. So, you gotta remember that.
Yes, ma'am.
And the way it would work, if there would be a complaint or he started drinking again, we could revoke the license at any
I
time.
believe you folks
correct?
can revoke at any time, right? We're saying?
I don't know, we've talked about this before, right?
I
We
know,
can't-
that's why I wanted,
I think once we put the licensure in place, the licensure is in place. It's not anything that we can do proactively or anything like that, go back.
Right, we can't set conditions to it. However, if he were to be up for renewal, and again, next time, and we were to find that there was another alcohol-related felony or something else that would be against the ordinances, then we would deny it again. And so it would be back here in front of you if we saw it again. Now, next year, if there's nothing, if you were to grant it today, and there would be nothing, no incidents, everything's going great, then this will not come to the body again. Next time, we'll keep it on file that it was overturned by the council, and we would
I
approve
mean,
it.
essentially, if you look at it that way, it's a 10-year probation for the alcohol license. Because that 10-year felony is a stipulation that's not gonna go away. And if there are issues with Mr. Driscoll downtown, we could always not renew it based on the felony.
but if a current bartender, not him, any bartender, starts causing trouble, we can't revoke their license?
There's a whole
No,
system set up.
we certainly can.
Okay, that's what
If we
before,
get
was
word
saying.
from the police department, or, we can revoke a license. If we find out they were serving underage, kids or something like that, yes, we can pull licenses for cause.
And
in
his-
between
his
the
case, being
renewals.
on parole, if he would be drinking, he probably would lose his parole.
Can you remind everyone to please use microphones?
Yeah, Nate, is your microphone
Some of the people are
sorry?
having a very hard time hearing.
So, my question to the council is, I know there's a motion on the table already, do we put some kind of stipulation on the bartender's license or no?
I think we
We
don't
can't.
think- Yeah, we can't. I don't think we can put a stipulation on it. Because that could be seen as discriminatory, as I believe what Penny said the last time we had these
Okay.
conversations, if I remember right. So it's either we approve it or we don't.
Okay,
If there's an incident that happens, we can then take action based on that incident,
got it.
rather than putting a condition on the renewal.
Yeah, but
I'm comfortable with that.
it sounds like we're putting this issue right now that's triggered this whole thing kind of to bed right now, whether we're going to allow it or disallow.
Okay.
If there's a serious incident that happens, being a bartender is probably the least of his worries, he'd probably be in trouble again because he's on electronic monitoring and he might not get to get out for Huber, so. But it sounds like he's doing what he can to be better and
Okay.
deserves a second chance.
Call for the question.
Yeah.
Mitch or Mike, do you have anything else to add? I know we've been kind of talking in person here, but is there anything else that you wanted to add or any questions you had?
I'm good. I said my 2 cents already.
Mike,
You
anything
know,
on your side?
I'm on, I waver on this, kind of both sides. You know, my curiosity is, we have this ordinance in place. But I also completely understand how hard it is to find, especially a long tenured employee. But that also begs the question, if we're going to allow this, what then do we disallow that? Where, you know, now we're kind of starting to draw lines that are going to become very jaded. You know, one of those things is, as we spoke of the stipulatory aspect of things, the reason we couldn't do it is because it becomes prejudicial. Then where do we go from here? What then becomes the basis of denial? So I'm torn. I mean, I completely understand. It's a mistake. You know, I'm not proud of everything I've done in my past. I know how hard it is to find employees. But the other side of me is scratching my head as to, this isn't just about this decision today. This is about the precedent that we're setting.
Yes, I have that same point of view. I was just thinking that as I was sitting here before, that what will we ever deny? Or what if someone else comes in and has something and we say, well, no, we're going to deny it, and they say, well, look at this, we had a felon with a firearm. I mean, because this is going to be public record now. I don't know where we're going to be able to deny much of anyone anymore.
If I may, so that is why the chief and I always go according to ordinance. Him and I are black and white. We say, here are the ordinance requirements, and if someone doesn't meet those requirements, we deny the license. At that point, it becomes on a case-by-case basis. So that's when you can, I don't necessarily know that it sets a precedent, because every case is different. When it comes to you, every case is different. And so you have to take all factors into consideration, including his longevity and the recommendation from the police department on the past experiences with him. I mean, all of that comes into place, and that's not going to be the same for every person that comes in front of you. So I think that's just kind of one of the difficult things that, as a council member, of having to make those decisions on a case-by-case basis. But we will always deny if we get anything against our ordinances. So we will always have the discussion.
So where does our oath come in, that we take an oath to uphold all the ordinances and laws in the city, state, and the government? Where does that line come in now? Because now we're going to go against an ordinance.
I don't think you're really going against ordinance. Ordinance was followed because it came to us, and then you got to weigh the situation. If there is any history of not working with the police or making the right calls, like not doing what a bartender should be doing, I'd be against, looking at that. Because it wasn't a incident at being a bartender or something he did wrong, doing his job. It was alcohol-related, not at work. It'd be just like,
But this incident wasn't actually when he was working, right?
No, it was not at work, so.
And it wasn't when he left work.
No.
This is something outside his employment.
I like that the chief and the clerk brought up, followed the ordinance to bring it here so we can at least discuss it and evaluate it and try and do what we think is right, so. So I don't really feel like I'm setting a precedent. I feel like case by case and be fair.
No, I think the precedent is at any point that someone feels like they could try to overturn it. You know, we've had these cases numerous times in the past, so if we're saying now that it's an issue, then we've got a real problem with stuff that we've done as this body, as the 8 of us, or the 9 of us with Mike, you know, before. So I got to imagine that we followed ordinance, and the ordinance allows for them to come and state their case to us if there's any extenuating circumstance in which that we would decide to.
And I think this body has done that with other, where we really look at who's, you know, their case, and then we say, no, we're not taking a chance, we're sorry, we're gonna deny it. And that was case by case,
Yep.
really.
So we're in that, we followed ordinance at this point, and it allows for them to have some form of rebuttal, which is what we're doing tonight, in my opinion.
And if anybody comes back and says, well, you did it for him, well, you're a different case.
Right.
You're a different case, so
Yeah.
we're gonna look at you as a different case, and I'm sorry, your case is a lot different and a lot worse than the case you're talking about. So,
I'm sure if we would have done something wrong with this point, Penny would have definitely,
yeah,
would have let us know.
I'm sure.
All right, any other questions, comments? As a reminder, we have a motion and a second to allow the renewal of the beverage operator's license. All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you very much, Chad and Neil. We appreciate your time and taking the effort.
Yep,
Thank you.
Don't disappoint us.
yes.
We're not gonna be happy.
Thank you very much.
Should we still come tomorrow?
Do you hear that, Neil?
That's a good question. There's still going to be like a final tomorrow for,
There will be a final decision by the council since this body is a recommendation to the council, which they're the same people, but
Since it was unanimous, I wouldn't see.
you can always go log on via Zoom if you want to as well, or call me.
In case we have a
Oh, you
question.
can.
I just wanted to email the DOJ and say that he will not have to attend tomorrow since it passed unanimously tonight. So then,
yeah, tomorrow would be the final decision.
I might tune in on Zoom just in case.
Yeah,
Or
for
I might
sure.
come here, but I'm probably gonna have him stay home.
It's kind of, we're a committee that advises itself for the
Right.
Tuesday meeting, so
And
I know
I
it
get
sounds
that, I
really
mean,
weird.
I came here before and they said, you know, it was unanimous tonight, nothing should really change in 24 hours, so.
Right, if it was
Just figured-
split, then you don't know, because someone could change their mind.
Right, right.
On a split.
All right, well, thank you for listening to us.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
All right, we will move on to Public Works and Utilities. Agenda item number 3, Public Works and Utilities Director Report. Kirk, I see you're online.
Good evening, everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, just kind of go over my report. We had taken on a number of demolition items for the EMS public safety building. We did get just about all of those taken care of. We do have the bathroom and the block concession stand to remove yet. We also did a small amount of crack sealing in the 11 wire area in preparation for the chip sealing, and we were back at that again today. Hopefully with this week's weather we can get most of what we're looking to get done in that area. We did have the bridge jack on East Brownell. We identified the bad spots in the deck and held those poured. The bridge was out of service for, I believe, 3 or 4 days. And the cure time is back open right now. The cure time is about 3 weeks, and then we will have the epoxy coating to finish that. We've typically been doing one bridge a year, and because of COVID and supply chain issues, we did miss one last year. But after this one is complete, we'll have one left, and that will just be a epoxy coating. It will be the one left by the dam. That's our newest one. And we don't anticipate any structural deck repairs for that one. So just a side note, these cost of $25,000 to $35,000 now will save us a tremendous amount of money in the long term. If we had to replace one of those bridges, it'd be extremely expensive, probably north of $250,000 or $500,000. We did get some work done with the clerk's and treasurer's office. We had those rooms painted, and I believe the countertop came in today, and we'll be working on getting that installed. It came one time, but then we had a little bit of issue on how it was manufactured, so it had to be sent back. The sewer department, basically operations are normal. We did get the sludge hauled out, and hopefully everybody has in front of you just a little bit of a chart that, or a number of charts that I put together to give you a little bit of information on things that are going on at the treatment plant over the last 5 years. I apologize if Mitch or Mike, if you don't have that. I didn't have it ready, and so I guess you just have to, I'll get it to you later. But in general, a couple of highlights. Our total electric costs have went down approximately $10,000 a year for all operations at the sewer plant. There's 2 lift stations identified here, and basically it's electricity use at those. And the reason those are pulled in here is because of, one, the William Street lift station identifies when the hospital was taken offline and no longer fed to that. And the Lincoln lift station is probably more impactful with the chart. In 2019, mid-year, the hospital went online, which shifted that flow from William Street to Lincoln. So we hit our peak flow in 2019, and what I'm trying to show here with these charts is 2020 and 2021. We did some very impactful projects along Butts Avenue and on Grant Street with the sump lines, and we've lowered that kilowatt usage by almost 5,000 kilowatts for the year. And along with that, we also added the hospital, the entire hospital, including Gunderson, to that. So I just want to show you how beneficial our projects are, especially in those wet areas through the infiltration, and particularly our sump pump line initiative. We've had about 21 people participate in this, and this is a cost-sharing program. Up to $1,000 in expenses, Public Works will reimburse half of that cost to the homeowner to get them hooked up. Typically, we'll see these homeowners putting their sump line in the backyards, so they're recycling this, or in many instances, they're hooked to the sewer, so we're treating clear water at the treatment plant. So we've spent roughly $74,000, $75,000 on that initiative, and I think from the graphs that we have here, it can be easily attributed to major cost reductions at these lift stations and just in general to the sewer department. One other thing I'd like to note is the blue graph indicates over 5 years the amount of millions of gallons treated at the sewer plant. In 2016, we treated 16 million gallons. It continued to creep up and peaked at 17 million. And with those projects, King Street, Butts, I think Lincoln and the project up to the hospital, we've cut that amount of gallons treated at the treatment plant by 3 million gallons from a peak of 17. So it's really quite a very graphic number. It should be. And also I threw in there gas therms. We peaked at 30,000 gas therms, and due to different projects we've completed at the treatment plant, we've got that down to about 18,000. So our electric usage at Lincoln Lift Station is down 21.4%. Our gas usage is down 22.7%. And millions of gallons treated was reduced by 22.5%. So I just wanted to throw some of these out here, and it'll probably be more representative to some of the things that are coming. Basically, I'm trying to dust off our energy program that we went through in 2014 energy audit, and try to make sure that we have at least the minimum, take the low-hanging fruit, and continue to move ahead with getting a return on investment for what we're doing. Otherwise, I'll touch on the last couple of things and I'll take some questions. The water department operations are also normal. The hydrant flushing is complete. We spent about, I think it was 45 weeks on that. And the project on Lakeside, Brandon, South Charles, and West Monroe will start sometime in June. We have a pre-construction scheduled for this Wednesday. To give us some more details from the contractor on that. And then also I'd like to invite everybody to the Lake Committee meeting. That is on Thursday, May 19th at 5 o'clock in the council chambers. Now, entertain any questions if you have them.
Any questions for Kirk?
Yeah, Kirk, I noticed you've been hauling the wood chips out from the compost yard. Is it cost efficient to use those small baby dumps versus the full-size dump truck?
It is not. That's why we've ordered and have in the queue to get a quad axle. And we're waiting on that with supply chain issues also. So we will be receiving that probably in late fall, which is obviously not going to hit this time frame for us to haul it. But on that note, I am also working on an initiative to try to reduce that burden that we have. It's a great program for the citizens. We'd like to keep that, but I'd like to find a more useful program, I guess, use for them. And we've got some couple ideas that we're going to try to work on with that.
Have you talked to Lambert Forest Products? I believe they have a contract to provide wood chips to the power plant in La Crosse.
That does cost quite a bit of money, and we have Lambert doing our grinding, and they're around $800 an hour. And that includes, it's a turnkey, it's for them to haul that away. But our current budget affords more in the $250 an hour range, and that's what we went towards.
I was referring to the possibility that after it's already ground, it might take it.
We're looking at something that would possibly happen even closer than that and benefit possibly one of our owners in the city.
Any other questions for Kirk? All right, I just want to say great work on the data you provided here, Kirk. It's really nice to see that those projects have had this big of an impact, so thanks for presenting that.
Thank you.
That's great. All right, moving on to the city clerk for agenda item number 4, city clerk monthly report.
Good evening, everyone. So just a few updates for you. The City of Tomah website has been rolled out. It went live last Thursday. It's been a pretty big hit. It is at www.tomahwi.gov. We ran into a little bit of trouble yesterday or last Friday out with it not forwarding from the old website if you didn't put in the www, but that has been fixed. So it should be seamless. Even if someone goes to the old site, it should forward you to the new one now. We're quite pleased. This has been a culmination of a lot of work over the last 6 months, a lot of different people involved in getting it going. So it's nice to see it live. The senior executive team did meet. We had only ended up with 2 RFPs for the assessor RFP that we sent out, both associated appraisal and accurate appraisal, and we've met with both of them. So the senior executive team is going to sit down and kind of talk it over and bring a recommendation likely next month for you. So we'll be bringing that to you for approval. I know I had talked to at least one, I think Richard had talked to you a little bit about the congressional and assembly redistricting. With the state not drawing their lines like they were supposed to by a certain due date. And then it was actually overturned after it was, so we ended up drawing some new lines in order to move along with the state lines, so we moved to 21 wards, and we had already done that. Then the new congressional lines came out, and they don't exactly follow along our borders. There's some slivers of land, and so Jeremiah from Monroe County GIS has been amazing. He's been attending meetings, with folks from the state, and it was found that we do not need to account for those slivers. So we will not be redrawing the lines again. We're at 21, and that should keep us at least until we have an annexation or something like that. So next 10 years, 21 wards is where we're at. We've got new maps. We'll make sure to put them up on the website, and I've got a new one that was printed out, so we'll get that one hanging up.
So the slivers didn't affect anyone, any resident to be in a different congressional than?
Right. From what I understand, the slivers did not have any people living in them. So we do not need to redraw the lines or at this time. So that hopefully is it. Cross your fingers. And then, the clerk's office has been very busy. We do renew all bartender licenses every 2 years, and we had over 250 of them. So we send out letters to everybody reminding them, to the bar owners and to the shop owners who sell alcohol license holders. So as of the writing of my report, we had about 40 renewals. I think we're up to about 75 at this point. So there's been quite a few, or 72 beverage server and about 40 renewals for alcohol and beer, wine, tobacco. That's also a lot of work for the police department, so thank you, Scott, for all your help doing those. I know you've seen quite a few of them rolling through. Appreciate it. We did renew our raffle license, so I know some of you do use the raffle license for the city, and so that's been renewed for another year, April of this year till April of next year. The thing is we are going to require that anybody who uses the city's raffle license to actually attend some training. There are some very important items that you need to include on your raffle tickets, data that you have to keep stored so that every year when we renew, we are required to report all the raffles that we did and some information about them. So there is a very nice gentleman from the Department of Revenue, I believe, who is an expert in all things raffles, and he's going to be coming to the city in person to do training. So we'll get those, whatever date that is, out to you. If you're interested in attending and using the city's license, we'll make sure that you attend that training first. And then lastly, I did send out information about the Andres and Earl, Thomas B. Earl applications. They are due back to the clerk's office by May 25th for Andres and May 27th for the Thomas B. Earl. If you want yours submitted with the city's pile that we're gonna take in. So just make sure if you are interested in doing that for a charitable organization or a committee that you might work for, that you get that to me by that date. And that's all I got. Any questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the treasurer, we have agenda item number 5, revenue and expenditures with comparison to budget for the 3 months ending March 31st, 2022. Molly.
Hi, I don't know how my voice is gonna carry.
Sounds good.
So okay, you can hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so I have the March 31st revenue and expenditure with comparison to budget. When looking at actuals compared to budget amounts, we're tracking pretty well. The only area that I see across the board kind of where we're going over is the utilities, but I have to assume that's due to an unusually cool spring. And I would imagine that will level off here over the next few months. Other than that, I would answer any questions that anyone has on that. And then I have the April 30th cash and investments report as well. Again, not much changing there. Obviously, rates are going up, so we continue to look at options for our current investments. But that's about the only activity happening there.
What are rates these days?
The latest that we got, I think there was one in March that was like 1.5%. On a 3 or 4 year CD. Those are obviously going up every day, but they have to be bonds available to buy, and we have to have the liquidity to do it. So that is something that I'm currently working on, actually with someone at Ellers is looking at our current portfolio and looking at ways to optimize what we have, and where it might be beneficial to cash out current investments and look into new options, as the rate market has been steadily increasing.
All right, any questions from Molly? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to approve the April 30th, 2022 cash and investments report.
Move to approve. Second.
All right, I got a motion by Sean with a second by Nellie to approve the report. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Molly.
Thank you.
All right, moving to Parks and Recreation, we have agenda item number 7, Tomo Parks and Recreation Program Report. Joe.
Good evening.
Evening.
Just a quick update from the Parks Department. Obviously, busy time of year for the parks with the weather. We're mowing, trying to get things cleaned up. Bathrooms are open. Winnebago Park bathroom will not be open due to removal and construction. Hopefully sooner than later we'll get in there with that project. With that, continue to work with the Boy Scout cabin. We ordered some light fixtures and electrical, and just waiting for materials on that, just like everybody else for that. So, but we continue to work a little bit with that when we can. Continue to work with our engineers, Director Arity on the Flair Avenue project. Trying to work on submitting some DNR permitting to get things moving on our ball fields and some estimates for that. So continue to work with that when we can. Recreation programs, just one more note on the parks. Next Wednesday, May 25th, is our planting day with cooperative effort with the Our Town Tomo group at Gillette Park at 9 a.m. And we'll also be doing a brat fry at the public restroom by Gillette Park next Wednesday for that planting for all the flowers downtown, the hanging baskets, and our park planters. So thank Our Town Tomah, thank Mr. Rui from the Public Works for hanging up. We have 12 more hanging baskets that will go downtown, so I'm excited for this summer for that as well. Recreation programs, we started our summer programming on May 9th for T-ball and tennis sign-up. Continue to work with that, recruit staff for that, and finish up gymnastics here in the next couple weeks at Rec Park. The big thing is the aquatic center. Right now, the vessel is holding water. Tomorrow afternoon, we'll be turning on the circulation pumps, and cross our fingers, things will be operable for that side of things, and then we'll try to get the concrete in where we dug up, and then the next big thing is recruiting lifeguards. A little slow this year with that, but hopefully for good results tomorrow afternoon, next couple of days, and then we'll make a big push for that. Our tentative trying to be open June 9th is our shooting date for that, just with school getting out. Most of our lifeguards and staff now are high school students, so we want to have a little time to do some training and stuff before we open. So we should have information by next Monday night's park board meeting to see where we're at with the aquatic center and for scheduling it. I know a lot of people in the community are wondering what's going on, but we are working hard. It takes time to fill it and get things tuned up, and tomorrow's going to be a big day for us as an aquatic center for that. So Recreation Park, Ice Center, they'll be taking ice out Tomo Youth Hockey this week, so that season is coming to an end for that, and you can see the events that have taken place last few months, and obviously June coming up, big month with getting ready for the big tractor pull and getting that place tidied up and cleaned up after the rodeo. Unfortunately for that, that good group for high school and middle school rodeo, but it just poured, so some cleanup to do after that as well. So Any other questions or concerns? All right, thank you.
Is the sheep show a new event?
The sheep show is kind of a new event. It's what they're calling their jackpots or something like that. It's a one-day event for the local sheep, those that show sheep at the fair. They're just doing a one-day event out at Rec Park, so for the kids for that. So. All right, thank
Good
you.
luck with the pool.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Be curious. Here on next Monday night's meeting.
Do you have a backup plan for that pool?
To be determined.
In other words, no.
All right, we'll move on to the Police Department, agenda item number 8, April 2022 Police Department Monthly Report. Chief.
Hello again.
Hello again.
Okay. Always start with staff. We have one opening, one retirement coming up, as you folks know. We held a recent hiring process that resulted in 3 qualified applicants. Qualified, I mean good, hireable candidates. Numbers have fallen with people that applied, but we don't lower our standards of bringing people in. One of the 3 dropped out prior to the Police and Fire Commission. That was a very, very, very strong candidate. He has 4 or 5 years of experience in Iowa. His family's moving to this area, and he ended up going to Sparta. He took the bonus to go there, so he dropped out. We do have 2 in our process that we move forward. The Police and Fire Commission liked them. They're 2 very different candidates. One is from out of the area. He's going to the academy at TC, and he graduates here in a couple weeks. His testing is all done, the psychological, the physical, drug testing, all of those things, and he will start with us on June 12th. And then he'll jump in the field training program. That's about 16 weeks, and hopefully everything goes good with that, and he'll be on the road. The other one is a local gal. Her name is Audrey Gomez. She graduated from Tomah High School. She went down to Arizona, got her bachelor's degree there. She moved back to Tomah. She currently works for the Monroe County Jail, and she's taken her master's degree online through ASU Online. She needs the academy. So the academy starts June 6th, so we're wrapping up the background now, and she's got to do the psychological, physical testing, etc. And then there's other requirements to get into the academy, and we've got to make a lot of things happen with her in a very short period of time. So she has to be a sworn employee of our department before the academy starts. That way she's what's called sponsored through the state of Wisconsin, and then the state will reimburse the $5,000 for it. So 2 different candidates, but 100% go on one, and we're about 95% go on the other. There's just a couple more hurdles to go with.
So,
Go ahead.
so does that mean you're gonna hire the one or you can try to hire both of them?
Both. Because we have the one opening, and then last month you folks authorized bringing one on prior, or at June 1st and beyond, so we're gonna hire both.
Chief, I have a question also. I was just thinking about, you have all these new officers coming into the community,
Yeah.
and I'd like to see a face of these officers that when they start employment here. Is there any way that you can bring them to one of our council meetings and kind of introduce, we do have,
Sure,
live, introduce them,
Yeah.
so
I can do that,
the community has a face, and so do we.
yeah. They may
Because
not like
a lot
that, but
of
we
them
can
we
do it.
don't see, and I mean, they're different shifts, I don't know who's who.
Yeah, that's no problem. I can start making a point of that. You bet.
Yeah,
If that's what you guys want.
I mean, unless it's top secret or anything.
Yeah, no. No, they're just,
I
a
would
lot of
like
them
to
that
see
come
a
in, they're
face.
young and they're a little bit shy. You wouldn't think that from a police officer, but I think bringing them in front of the council, they may, but, yeah.
Well, and then they get to know us as well,
Right,
so.
Yeah. absolutely.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
I can do that.
Even some of your newer officers, I've never met them.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it.
Actually, we use a way to get to know them all better,
Yeah,
Right,
right.
because I don't know.
Sure. I can do that. I'll figure out a plan. bring some people in front of you folks.
We can thank him for picking Tomah.
There you go.
We did.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah, certainly.
Fastest way to meet him is speed downtown, guys.
There you go. Just fly up and down the street with a beer in your hand, meet them all. Yeah, I can do that. It's not a bad idea. Yeah, I like that. We also have one officer on FMLA right now until mid-June. And then we have one that will likely be going on restricted duty in June, and then FMLA after that for 2 to 3 months. Assistant Chief Eric Pedersen, Lieutenant Jared Furlano, and Sergeant Cody Paulson are all scheduled to come off probationary status here in the next few weeks. So when I got promoted, that triggered a whole series of promotions within the department. So their probationary status is ending. They're all meeting and exceeding standards, so doing well for us. Our new website is up. I don't know if Becky touched too much on that, but tomawi.gov is up. So if you were to go to the tomopolice.com website, it's redirected. It's a fantastic website. It's good. Definitely chose the right platform and vendor. We've had a couple of snags just because we're rerouting stuff and emails through our old domain, and their customer service is fantastic, very responsive, and gets stuff done for us. Got a K9 golf outing coming up July 8th at Hiawatha, 10 o'clock in the morning, shotgun start. Entry fee includes a cart, lunch on the course, chances to win whole prizes, raffle opportunities, plenty of room for teams, so please inquire at our department. And just we appreciate the community partners that we have that help sponsor this event. Certainly couldn't do it without them. Kirk and I wrote 2 separate grants for the same thing, looking at electric vehicles. There's a federal grant put on through the state where it's an 80-20 split. They will pay 80%. We would be responsible for 20. I put in the grant for 2 F-150 Lightning trucks. They're 100% electric. It comes with a charging station. Kirk and I were kind of laughing about it. There's $1.6 or $7 million that is available for our size of community. And we're thinking, man, we got a heck of a shot here, but that's like 26 vehicles or something. So it's not a lot, but cross our fingers, and that happens, and our 20% will come from. We got 2 Ram trucks in our fleet. We'll sell those. That'll more than pay for our 20% and be able to put money back in the general fund.
so where would you put these?
Chief vehicle and investigator vehicle. Cannot have it it doesn't have a capacity yet for traditional patrol vehicle. They could be out in a pursuit, they could be out taking someone to Winnebago on a chapter evaluation, and you don't have time to stop and plug in your car, obviously. But that would be what we would do. Now, what I see in the future, I think they're going to have, the capacity in the F-150 is about 250 miles before it needs a recharge. In the future, what I think is going to happen is these battery capacities are going to go up and up and up, and you end up with a vehicle that's got 500-600 mile capacity. I think you're going to start seeing fleets roll to these. Yeah, so we're trying. We'll see what that comes up with, but I do believe it's going to be fairly soon on whether or not we know if we get awarded this. Veterans Park. So Joe Protz approached us with a problem in Vets Park by the soccer field. I think he talked to the park board a bit about this. Am I right?
Yes.
So the short version is there's the VA employees. I don't believe they're allowed to smoke on their property, so they come across the street and they sit in that lot. They smoke and they flick cigarette butts out the window, and then there's hundreds, if not thousands, of cigarette butts that are sitting there. So there's certain things we can do, certain things we probably shouldn't do, but what I like is voluntary compliance. So we reached out to these folks. All we want is people to not do that. So we reached out to the VA Police Department. They have access to some kind of internal social media. They're going to let their people know. And I reached out to the director, Karen Long, of the facility, and her leadership team is going to put out more information, and hopefully that will curb the problem before we have to start staking out the parking lot and dealing with that. The problem is you get a bunch of kids there to come and play soccer, and it's loaded with cigarette butts and whatnot. So we'll see if we can solve the problem that way before we have to get more involved. Just a reminder, community events coming up. I mean, I have never seen a community like Tomah with the community events. It's crazy, in a good way, you know, but the summer months are nonstop with us. You're talking National Night Out, Monroe County Fair, Tractor Pull, downtown Thursday nights, a bunch of civic events. I believe you have one you're going to start this year. Is that still on?
Yep,
Yeah.
August 6th.
So very, very, very busy for us. You know, whenever you see a police presence, it's usually people that aren't on duty. They're on overtime. You know, that is an impact, but our presence is needed at most of these. So thanks to the officers for putting the extra time. Any questions at all for me? Okay.
I think you can just hang out.
Yeah, I think I can.
Excellent. So, going to the general agenda, we have item number 9, Tomo Police Department request for a recruiting and retaining bonus structure. So, Chief, keep it up.
Keep talking. Okay. So, I talked a little bit. We had some dialogue last month about what Sparta's doing and what departments are resorting to. And it's basically a supply and demand problem. Not many people want to be cops anymore like they used to. And the ones that do have a whole slew of places they can go work. And the reality is if you're open to moving anywhere in the state of Wisconsin, you can go to the other side of the state and make $5, $10 more an hour than staying here. So our pool is really the Cooley region, and we have to be competitive in the Cooley region. We're never going to be competitive with the city of La Crosse. Never. They have a different tax base, but we have to be competitive with Sparta, Monroe County, etc. We're literally fighting over the same people. So Sparta went to a recruiting bonus. What I don't like about that is what are you saying to the people internally that have been there for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever. That might bother me if we're paying someone brand new with no skin in the game, if you will, to the organization, just to walk in the door. So we steered away from that. Me and my command staff, we spoke about there's really 2 ways. It can be a bonus or it can be some kind of a wage increase. The problem with the wage increase is it's tough to budget that because it's compounded by overtime. So it's kind of an infinite number, if you will. So we said, well, let's look at a bonus structure. So what we came up with is, I brought it forward to the set team. The mayor was definitely involved. And we came up with a recommendation for a recruiting bonus. That would be $1,000 to the new officer once they make tenure. So they're in the door, they're trained, they make it through field training, they're off probation, there's someone that we are going to hang on to, and it would be $1,000. That's when they get their first $1,000, and then the second $1,000 would be 1 year after that. The retaining bonus would be for current tenured employees, not named Scott Holm, that would get $1,000 immediately, and then 1 year later, they would get the other $1,000. And what it equates to is basically a 50-cent raise with no overtime associated with it. That's what we're looking to do. And then I would like this in place going forward for all new officers that come in. I think it can push us a little bit towards getting more recruits applying at our department. You know, like I said last month, I can control the climate and the culture in the organization. I can't control compensation. I just can't. You know, I can do everything I can to make people not want to leave once we have them, but it's getting them and then keeping them.
May I?
Absolutely.
So, $1,000 for, and I'm trying to understand this. Okay, so $1,000 would be for the officers that we have now,
Yes.
correct? For 1 year? It's just a bonus of $1,000, correct?
Yes, right now, and then 1 year later, the other,
And what would that be for?
1,000.
I know, but what's the purpose of giving them
The
another?
same, it's just a split retaining bonus,
Okay,
spread out over that period.
Yeah, I think he's trying to make it fair that this would be something that they want to offer to people that are applying, but in order, anticipating that some of the officers who are already on staff might feel that they were hard done by, especially if they were hired within the last, couple of years, that in a bit of fair play, that everyone would be offered this.
and this would only be a one-time, correct?
Per
One-
employee.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so for the first year, 1,000, and then second year would be 1,000, just the one time.
Yes.
And then for the new recruits, what are you looking on?
I would, for the new people coming into the organization, we're gonna have retirements, we're gonna have whatever. I would like to keep that bonus structure in place. That might put us over the edge with getting more applicants going forward. And that money could be simply budgeted by forecasting our personnel. It's not a ton of money, we can absorb that, like if we have to have a new officer come in.
But do you have a dollar amount on new recruit? 5,000 just as a bonus?
No, it would stay the same, the one.
Oh, it would
yeah,
stay
just
the same for
2,000.
them too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
What's Sparta offering you?
Between 8,000 and 10,000,
Holy cow.
yeah.
Dean, you had a,
I was gonna say, so the retention bonus, we're just planning 2 years, but then in 2 years, are we gonna do it again? Because there'll be more new people coming in, or you think
For-
we can get through this environment and see what the environment is
Yeah, I
in
don't
2
have any,
years?
I don't have any intention right now to ask for anything further in the future, but I can't sit here and tell you no.
Right,
We have to stay competitive.
correct.
What happens in 2 years is the union's contract opens up again,
And
okay?
we can start negotiating.
And that's where we
that.
do, we need to do comprehensive wage studies. And by we, I mean them as well. But you can't just look at an hourly wage and say, well, they make 50 cents more than us, or they make $1 less. Sparta makes more money than our officers do right now. What I don't know is, what are they paying for insurances? What are they paying for this? What are they paying for that? There's a lot to a compensation package. You know what I mean? But you need to look at the big package for sure.
So my next question would be budget. Would this come out of your,
This would, so Molly, obviously on the SEC team, she indicated that there is money available in what was budgeted for, goodness, I forgot his name.
The city administrator.
Yes, sorry. There's money there.
money where?
What was budgeted for,
The
what's
city
his name?
administrator.
The city administrator.
Right.
Thank you, sorry, Brad. For Brad's, what was budgeted there, so there's money there for that. And if Molly's still on, I think she can talk to him.
Molly, are you there?
Yes, I am, and Chief Owen is correct. We had an excess, obviously that was created when we removed the administrator position. So there was about $90,000 that was still sitting there that we can do in a budget amendment. I think, Chief, what did you anticipate in the first year, around 20,000?
40.
Well, it'd be a total of 40.
Over 2 years.
Total of 40 over 2 years,
20.
yes.
Okay, is your mic still on?
I hope so. Oh, how about there?
Oh, there-
Yes?
Okay,
Oh,
okay, sorry. So we could do a budget amendment to move some of the wages from the administrator into the police department's wages.
So are we talking the total of 40,000 out of city administrative salary?
20.
It would be 20 for this year, and then next year we would work it into the budget.
I mean, it seems to me in reality that it's going to be the 1,000 is going to go on their wages probably to perpetuity. I mean, I know the intention isn't that, but once they get that $1,000, in a couple of years, they're not going to go not get it.
That could be part of the negotiation of the
Yeah.
contract too.
I don't know, I know what you're saying, but I think what they would really do is appreciate it. I don't think there would be an expectation of that to be continuing on.
it's a tool in the toolbox for recruiting, and it gives us a chance to show how much we appreciate the officers and retention for what we already have on staff.
So, I'm just trying to
No,
understand
you're
this, but, Molly, are we looking to take the total amount at one time for this, for
We
the,
would just, I'm sorry. We would just do a budget amendment for the amount that is needed to cover these bonuses, which again, we're anticipating to be around 20,000 for the current year. And keep in mind that that savings that we have this year in the budget from the administrator's salary will be something that rolls forward again next year. That's money that will be available in next year's budget as well. So if we need to take the 20,000 again, or we would need to take the 20,000 again in 2023, but it should be available.
You wouldn't take the
Didn't
whole
we
thing at
use some
one
of this
time.
money?
Oh, go ahead, Mitch, sorry.
Did we use some of that, city administrator money for the raises of the 17? Oh,
Yes,
So
the
is that-
money that I am referring to is still the savings after that.
okay.
Natalie, just to get back to that last point, the reason you don't take the full 40 at one time is
Because the
once they, yeah,
budget,
if they leave within that year, then there's no person to give the next 1,000 to, so it's
so
more
it
like
would
a
be 20,000 this year and 20,000 next year.
less,
If they're still
less
there.
whoever left in that year of time that would no longer receive the bonus.
Okay.
Dean?
Being as a retention bonus, are we gonna set a date as of, I mean, you say you got some officers retiring, are we gonna give them a retention bonus for leaving in 2 months?
See, now that is.
I mean, so you may wanna call it something different is where I'm
Well,
going.
that's a valid question, okay? I have a veteran officer that is retiring in July, you know?
So.
That's why I don't like calling it a retention bonus if we're, you know,
Or
more of an
renewing it.
appreciation bonus
We're not
or.
retaining it.
So are you saying that the one that is retiring should get 1,000?
He's just thinking about it now, cause.
No, I thought about it, sir,
Oh.
I have. It's tough for me, and I would leave that up to you guys. I mean, the purpose of this is to do everything we can to retain our people, and if we have someone that is knowingly leaving, I get it, I understand.
But it's also an appreciation bonus for the hard work they do.
I think in terms of simplicity, you just said for the first payment, whoever is an employee as of
What day?
X date is on there. It doesn't matter if they leave the next day, it doesn't matter, right? It's just, otherwise we're, it gets complicated and you don't want to frustrate people, so.
As the city is an employer, I think it also demonstrates what you think of your employees. So if you want to work for an organization, maybe it doesn't pay you as much as they do in Sparta, but they still take care of you, and this bonus, I would have no problem with the person, even if they're gonna plan to retire in the future. I hope all of the officers work all the way till they retire, and they retire from Tomah, not from somewhere else. It'd be nice.
Richard, you
I got a couple of questions. Number one, of the list of employees here, I would assume that 3 or 4 of the officers are not tenured yet?
Yeah, I can tell you exactly who it is. Is there a list on here? There is, isn't there?
I got a Paul
I
Franta.
will tell you who is not tenured. So Paul Franta, no. Justice Blackhawk, no. Jaden Olson, no. So those 4 officers.
You just named 3.
I'm sorry, 3, sorry, Nicholson is in here. And by the way, this would only be our sworn staff. That is not Mark Nicholson, it's not our clerical staff, it's not the administrative assistant, it's not me. There's 21 sworn, so this is about the 20 other employees. So there's 3.
And you
So
said
the
a
way
few
I
of them-
understand the program, the new hires or ones, that bonus doesn't get paid until they are tenured, right?
Yes.
So that's approximately what, 9
Well,
months?
well, we're looking at 1 in July and 2 in October. That's when they would be tenured,
Of the present ones?
yes.
But then the new hires?
The new hire, like,
That'd be out there, what, 9 months,
yeah, so, well, 12.
12 months?
Yeah, so next June, John Regal, the one in the academy now, would be eligible for it.
Mitch, I see, do you have a question? Mitch, I see you have the hand on the Zoom call?
Yeah, hey, sorry, in trouble, I'm new team. So my question is, I mean, we have more than just police officers on our staff. Obviously, I'm for retention of some sort, for officers, but what happens when, Parks and Rec, and what happens in Public Works, and, are we gonna give out a retention bonus for every single staff member in the city? I was thinking that, or I'd have to bring that up.
Are you asking me, Mitch, or are you just in
No,
general?
this is just in general.
Okay. Can I comment on that?
Yeah, absolutely, try.
What was its question?
So
Would we do this across the board for all city employees?
yeah, if we're giving a retention bonus to the police department, is there a case to be made or some hard feelings that will be done to other departments of the city? Is that something that we need to consider, or, do we need to treat people even across the?
No.
So, Chief, did you wanna?
I mean, I can respond, and I'll give you my opinion from my perspective and take that for what it's worth, but all city employees are valuable, they are, and they offer a skill set. But not every skill set is the same. Police officers are unique. The qualifications that they have to have, the certifications they have to have, the training they have to have, the demands placed on them, the things they deal with, the things they see, it's different. Not standing here telling anybody we're better, but it's different. And when you look at the numbers of when you get 7 applications for an opening, where Becky can have a clerical position open and she's 80 plus, 90 plus, there's a...
100, I had 100.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
She brags about it all the time, but it's true. It's just, that's just the reality, so we're different.
Yep, and I would have to agree that your department is unique, and there are law enforcements that are very hard to come by because of the profession versus a city clerk or a department of somebody that would work at the public works, So yes, you are correct.
All right, Richard? You and then, Richard, I saw him first, and Dean, you're next.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion here to approve it, and with the retention bonus being paid on their anniversary.
Why? Why would you want that?
Huh?
Just why?
That means it gets paid out periodically, but it's a set date, their anniversary date of hire. So like,
You talking for the retention side of it?
yes, just the retention side.
So the problem with that is if you give someone $1,000 now, once it's approved, and their anniversary date is in July, right?
It's
Well,
not gonna be
there's-
fair.
It could be anybody up until now, and then pay the rest of it out over the rest of the
I think
year.
with
Well,
the, with
well,
the,
But you're getting
What
into
I'm
a mess.
proposing is, like, I'll take Sergeant Coleman.
Here, hold that thought for a second before we jump into it. Is there a second first? Because if there isn't a second, then we don't have to go through the logistics of it. Is there a second for Richard's motion? Okay, so that motion goes.
So since Richard's motion is it still on the table?
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
no decision has been made yet, so the agenda item is still open.
So
So,
you can make a different motion. My motion is dead.
okay.
For
still
lack of a
got-
second.
Comment.
Dean, yeah, go ahead.
You said you had, with your promotion, there was some others that moved up and they're still on probation or whatever. Are they off now? I mean, just so we set a date to cover them because
They
it
are-
was
they are-
for.
They're
not
tenured,
pro-
they're
not pro-
tenured.
They're still tenured,
They are
okay.
tenured, yes.
I was just making sure that we covered everybody
Yeah,
and
good
didn't
question.
exclude
Yeah.
somebody by mistake.
Yep.
Nellie, you had another?
Yeah, I don't have a problem, the only problem I'm not comfortable with is the officers that are going to retire, and like your officer that's gonna retire in July.
His
He's almost done.
anniversary date is 8/27.
So that is,
That particular,
anybody that is subject to retire in 3-4 months, or 3 months, is the thing that I'm not really comfortable, because they're pretty much, this is a bonus for the ones that are on board and the ones we're recruiting. Am I correct?
Yes.
That officers also gave us 10, 15, 20
Oh,
years
no, no,
of
no, no,
service.
no.
Well, then,
Clerk.
I'll say his name is Pete Hunick, and Pete Hunick has served the community of Tomah, I'm gonna say probably the better part of 30 years,
At least.
not only as a police officer, but as a EMT.
So why would you want to exclude him? I mean, he's been part of the community
He's given
forever.
an awful lot to the city.
so this would,
I understand your thought process, I do.
right, so you would look more as a
I
bonus.
know, that's why I was trying to recall it as more be a more appreciation bonus instead of a retention bonus.
That's not what it is.
Can I
Yeah,
make a motion?
John, yeah, go
A
ahead.
separate motion?
Yep.
How
yes.
about, I make a motion that we just, do as the chief originally said, is the, both of them, you know, and put the date, I don't care if they got the check tomorrow, you know, just, because there's only one retiring soon, and if he's been a long tenured employee, I don't have a problem with that.
You
Because it
gotta
sort
make
of
it far
shows,
enough to be able to do the budget adjustment, to be able to pay it.
yeah, whatever, yeah.
So what you're saying is we only have one to retire in July.
Yeah, and it's,
I'll
thank you.
second that
Is
motion.
that it, chief?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
One?
All right, I have a motion by John and a
I'll
second for
second.
Mitch. Mitch already popped in on there. And just to reiterate, to make sure I say this right, John, to go with the plan as written and just pick a date, and then that's the date that the first payment hits whoever's out of the sworn that isn't chief. Here's the ones that get the payment. Is that about some of the?
And I thank the chief for, it's a unique way to retain people that's kind of fair. I like it better than jacking the hourly rate, and I like, oh, that was really, I didn't know what you were gonna do last time you had a meeting and you talked about what was happening.
I didn't either.
This is good, I like this.
Richard, go ahead.
This is referred to new hirees as a sign-on bonus payable after they retain tenure. For the present employee or officers, it's retention bonus, and that bonus is for them to continue their employment for the next year. So do we want to pay it out up front for the present tenured employees, or do we put it down the road for them to stay?
I think now, because they're tenured, and that is the starting point, the kickoff point for the people coming in the door, once they've earned their tenure with the department.
I see it, I
We
think.
should change the name from retention bonus to, sign-on bonus and a tenured bonus. So if you're currently tenured, you get it, and if you're not tenured yet, it's a sign-on. Because when you use the word retention,
That's where I was going
That's
before
not
too,
right.
where I was
Yeah,
saying
retention
appreciation
makes it
or trying to come
confusing.
up with the right word.
just call it a tenured bonus. You made tenure, if you're already tenured, or
Okay,
when you make it.
I like it.
So, Mike, do you have any input on that?
Well, I think, you know, by descriptive, it becomes a discussion of semantics. The one thing that I do look at when it comes to Pete Hunick is the chief comes to pretty much every meeting and tells us that they are continually trying recruitment and doing all sorts of things, and they can spend thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars in trying to recruit people coming to the city. By putting $1,000 retention, or whatever you want to call it, when it comes to Pete, that to me is some of the wisest money spent, because it does better than any outside advertising could possibly do, because it just reminds the people that are there that we as a city value not only, you know, what we look forward to them doing for the city, but we truly value what it is they've contributed to the city up to this point in time.
I agree with that.
Okay, thank you.
Luan, did you
You're
have,
welcome. Thank you for asking.
Okay.
Luan, did you have something that you looked like you wanted to say something right before?
Yeah, and I'm kind of lost it just listening to the rest.
So,
Train left the station.
so what's the motion on the table?
have a sign-on bonus of $1,000 for new recruits and a tenured bonus. So if you are currently tenured, that would be the bonus.
And then the recruiting bonuses also, because didn't you say they have to be here at least the
Yeah,
year
it's
to be
it's split in
tenured?
two. So the recruiting person, when you make tenure, you get $1,000. 1 year after that, the other 1,000.
Yep.
And then the tenured would be 1,000 now, and then 1 year later, the other 1,000. So it's split.
For 2 years.
Yes, ma'am.
Lamont, you had a?
Okay, so the 3 that aren't tenured get the sign-on?
They will, what amounts to, they'll get the tenure bonus, if that's what we're calling it. Once they make tenure, they will get the $1,000.
So they have to make 10 years in order to get it.
Okay, so on this first date, they'll get nothing,
Once
No.
because they don't fall in either
Right,
category.
so the officers we're talking about is Jaden Olson. When he makes tenure, he'd be eligible on July 11th. Are you looking at the roster with me?
Mhm.
Okay. And then Justice Blackhawk, October
Yeah.
10th,
And
and
friend.
then Paul Franta, October 16th. That's when they would make tenure.
Would they get the 2 bonus series, or they only just get the 1?
You'll get the 2.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. So everyone,
But
Bonus
that's
varies
the,
They get the
that's
first
a different
1,000.
date though, if they're
They won't
not
get-
on it, I thought we were setting a date. Those of all of that
Okay.
date,
You can do that for tenured officers right now. But for the newer officers, they come in staggered.
so will anybody get both?
No,
anybody
they're gonna
cross
get
out?
one or the other. They're not gonna get both.
Yep.
You couldn't,
They're gonna get
That's why I
$2,000.
suggested their anniversary dates,
oh, I see.
because it falls with their tenure.
Now it all comes together.
yeah, right, because in one sense, we're locking the date and saying that's what you get it, so if you're not tenured and you're not a new,
But you're dealing with 2 different groups of people.
If I may, only because I've seen this
A
in an HR.
non-tenured officer and a new officer are the same. Just the starting dates are different.
All right, Becky, go ahead.
So programs like these are fairly familiar to me in the HR world I came from, and what he's doing is drawing a line in the sand. He's saying as of such and such date, if you're a tenured employee, you'll get your $1,000, and then once you've been here for 1 year, 1 more year after that, you'll get an additional $1,000.
okay, got that.
Right, and so anybody coming in after that, so anybody else who got their first 1,000 and then their second 1,000, they're not getting any more.
Okay.
It's only going to refer to new people coming in. That's it. So what he's doing is drawing a line in the sand, and then everyone else after that is gonna be staggered 1 year, 1 year, 1 year, 1 year. That's it. It's just this beginning part that everyone's getting all at once, just as a thank you and appreciation,
But
so.
a new employee doesn't get the 1,000 until they make 10.
That's right, so everybody after that, and so the
Okay.
3
Yeah, I
officers
got
that he's talking about are basically just like any other new person
Yeah,
coming
I
in.
got it.
They're waiting till their tenure, that's
Yep.
it.
Yeah, and that'll be an ongoing program.
Thank you.
All right.
Sometimes I don't explain it as good as you.
So do we got the verbiage the way we want the motion to reflect what we
Would
just
you
discussed?
like me to read what I have? All right, I said a motion by Glenn, second by Kale, to recommend the council approve a recruiting bonus of $1,000 to new officers after tenure and another $1,000 after his or her second year, and a retaining bonus of $1,000 immediately to all tenured sworn employees on a specific date in the near future, and another $1,000 after 1 year
And that would cover $2,000
For each.
done.
for each
Covers
person.
it.
When are we gonna decide that date, or who's gonna decide that date?
Well, we can make it almost immediately, but Molly, how quick can we make a motion to move the budget so that we can pay it? Or can you pay it without that motion?
Make it effective July 1st.
Pete's still here.
We could approve the budget amendment at the next meeting. I'm not sure that would need to hold up the, payment, but we could approve it at the June meeting.
Okay. Mike, did you have anything that you wanted to add there? I saw your box pop up right before Becky read off the motion.
Yeah, and just The only thing I was thinking, because there was the question of, qualify for one or the other, just put the stipulation in that an employee can qualify for one or the other. Nobody will ever garner both.
Okay, any further discussion? Never underestimate our ability to
So,
sell ourselves to more complicated.
Is July 1st acceptable?
That's fine with me. Absolutely.
Okay,
So you want to amend it to July 1st, then?
Sure, we can do July 1st.
Mitch, are you good with amending your second to include the July 1st date?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
Do we want to do it with the payroll as it, or is it gonna be a separate check that you're gonna cut? Try not to make this any harder than it has to be.
So the first payroll after July 1st? That work?
They do, but we ran into this before with clothing allowance, et cetera. If Molly can do a separate check, that would be strong.
Saves taxes, because otherwise they're making so much that month they take out.
Yeah.
Right.
So I just wanna clarify it.
Molly, you can do that?
Yeah, we can do a separate check on that.
Is that anything we need to specify in the motion now, just to make sure we have all of our bases covered?
What day is July 1st?
Yeah, which July 1st, 2022?
No, but is it a
Fourth
Sunday?
is a Monday.
It's a Friday.
Okay, all right. Then we're good with July 1st.
All right, any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Good job, team.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thanks, chief. All right, agenda item number 10, discussion recommendation of zoning ordinance amendment allowing for plan commission review of commercial industrial site plans. So I know Shane is out today. Is this something we want to discuss now or postpone it tomorrow?
I can talk a little bit to it. I know Shane said he'll be here tomorrow to talk about it remotely with you if you'd like. It's basically just, it says that our current ordinance limits the review time for a zoning administrator to 10 days from the date to complete submittal of the required documents. The amendment would allow 10 days for the approval once the planning commission completes their review, instead of 10 days from the date of the required or submitted documents. It's just a little bit of a wording change that allows for a little bit more time for our zoning administrator to get those things done and according to ordinance. And it was approved by the planning commission.
The thought was more eyes on it, with more people to look at it, in case someone hasn't thought of something.
Because, and many times then, there wouldn't even be a planning commission meeting before he has to fulfill
Right.
the application.
So I'm
So
allowed to come in.
the planning commission isn't even getting to see it at all before he's moving it forward
That's correct.
and taking.
Word is required.
So this allows it to get to the planning commission,
So
basically.
I'll make a motion to recommend it onto the council and then we can talk about it.
I'll make a second.
All right, we got a motion by Lamont and a second by Dean. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 11, discussion and recommendation of zoning ordinance amendment allowing for butcher shops as a permitted use in the B business district.
Move to
Can I have a
approve.
butcher shop?
Second.
I got a motion by Richard and a second by John. What was your question, Helen?
No, I was just saying that something coming to town that we don't know about.
I don't remember how this came up. I think there were some discussions. We talked about this at planning commission.
Yeah, it wasn't, like, they're not gonna be killing animals, it's just processing, cutting up meat.
I was gonna say, it's not
Like
the
a deli.
slaughter of, it's
Not
only
a
the
slaughter
cutting
house.
of carcasses already slaughtered and,
Yeah.
so it's a meat plate, meat,
Butcher.
A meat plate.
retail meat, cutting up meat, not butchering animals and.
No, I know. My question is that something that is looking to
Well, I'm guessing someone is, yeah.
There's been.
come to the
reports
city?
Is it? I mean, there might have been some, enough to the
that
point that.
People asked in the past, it's not in those, it's not covered, it's not defined in our,
And that's why we're
that's
adding.
why, it's not in there, so it's one of those things that's just out
Okay.
there.
But to be fair, I don't remember if it was because there was interest or if there was something else that triggered it, so.
I guess to answer your question, I don't know.
Well, Shane will be on
Yeah.
Zoom tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll say something and then I'll remember it. All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance change. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 12, resolution authorizing payment of monthly bills.
Motion to pay the bills.
Second.
I got a motion by Dean and a second by Nellie. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 13, discussion and recommendation of ordinance amending section 38-35 of the City of Tomo Municipal Code regarding street reconstruction.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
So Kurt, is there anything that you want to add to this?
I guess really what our ordinance reads is a very complete and concise statement that can use when we're within the city limits, and once we start abutting other properties, Town of LaGrange, Town of Tomah, that's what we're finding as being somewhat restrictive, and we need some leeway to make that decision on what's in the best interest for its sidewalks primarily. I guess the example is County ET. With that project, our right-of-way butts up against a number of parcels in the Town of LaGrange. And it does not make sense for us to be putting in sidewalks in certain areas. We would not be able to enforce our snow removal, snow and ice removal ordinance, and it would really create quite a burden on us to go out there and do those removals. So that's why we're looking to kind of put this in there to give us some leeway. Like I said, the original ordinance was really good from the standpoint there really is no black and, it was all black and white, no gray areas. But now we're finding that we need to really address the issues that I just talked about.
Question, Kirk. Would this give us a leeway in the case of some of the properties way out on the end of the city limits on ET, where it's city residents, but it's undeveloped lots or back lots?
We have not looked at that as what this would be intended for. This is really created for those parcels in our partners with other townships. A good example in that same direction is just to the east of the soccer fields. There's one parcel that's in town of Tomo. So in this case, we would say, hey, we want that sidewalk to continue. We don't want a gap in there. And vice versa, if we look at ET west of LaGrange, just before the sharp corner, on the south side, we have one property that's in the city of Tomo, and all the other ones are not. So it doesn't make sense to put one segment of sidewalk out there when there's no continuity there. The lots that you're talking about, I understand where those people are coming from, but they've really created that scenario on their own. And I don't feel that we should not put the sidewalk in there just because of their creation of buying up the lots in that scenario.
All right, any other questions, comments? All right, I had a motion by Lamont and a second by Dean to to approve the ordinance amendment. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 14, discussion of ordinance amendment allowing the issuance of stop work orders from the City of Tomah building fire inspectors.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, I got a motion by Richard and a second by Lamont. Any further discussion?
Yeah, what is stop work on what?
Tim, come on up.
Good evening, everyone.
Hey, Tim.
Basically, it gives either Shane, his department, or my department, my certified inspectors, the ability to shut a project down if we see something that is not to our standards.
Okay.
And that's basically what it is.
You don't have that authority now?
Yeah, I would think that.
This defines it.
Clarifies it better.
Yeah, exactly. There's always kind of that gray area, and now it's part of our
Because
code.
previously it was just for stormwater mitigation, right? Wasn't one of the only things you could come in and stop?
I believe so. Shane could probably highlight on that one, because that's on his side, but
That we really didn't have anything that.
this gives
gave
us
any
the ability,
to come in
if we
for-
came in and seen something that, if there wasn't a fire break or something that was correct, then we can step in and say, hey, this isn't right, you need to stop and make it right.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 15, purchase of ladder truck. Tim.
All right, if I can have a few minutes and tell you the history behind this before you guys.
Our undivided attention.
So, obviously, it's been in the back of my mind for a ladder truck for a long time, right? And the needs for the city, the ISO rating, and just to be able to service these large buildings. And, the reality is the city cannot afford it. And we cannot afford a new truck for quite some time, probably. We're looking at probably close to 7 years before we would have the bonding capabilities to do that. So, we went and spec'd this truck out. You know what's happened just through COVID and inflation things, so I'm just gonna run through some numbers here just to kind of enlighten you on what's going on here. So on April 1st, the truck that we were looking at was $1,589,547. On May 1st, Pierce had another price increase, as all of them did. So today that cost of that truck is $1,708,764. So typically, and you can't go by typically because things change, right? They had 14 or 15% price increase in the last 12 months. So typically they have a 3% increase annually. So we'll just go on the low side of things. So if we waited the 7 years, that would be 2029 before we would be able to bond for it. That truck would be $2.1 million. And then on top of it, it's a 2-year build. So if we were able to lock that money in into 2029, we wouldn't see that truck till 2031. So I have an alternative idea. I've been used truck shopping and just kind of keeping an eye out on the market, and it's pretty tough out there. Everything that's out there is $500, $600, $700, $800,000, and it's still just outside of our price range. Well, recently, within the last couple of weeks, we've had some conversations with the village of Howard over by Green Bay. They recently had a brand new Pierce mid-mount platform built. That was exactly what we were looking at getting, and they're going to take possession of that truck in the end of May. In the meantime, they have a truck that they're going to be selling, and it's a 20-year-old truck. It's a Pierce. It's a 100-foot tandem axle platform, pretty close to exactly what we're looking for, except it's 20 years old, and they have a rotation on that truck Every 20 years, they flip their big trucks. And a little history behind it, the city of Sparta has the exact same truck, and Fort McCoy has the exact same truck. I have talked to Chief Yankee over there. Here's one of the hitches. The village of Pulaski has first dibs on it. So I'm not completely confident that I'm gonna have the ability to go after this. But I'm here tonight to talk to you guys because if they bail on it, we're number 2 on the list. And I wouldn't be able to come to you in June because by the end of June, this truck is going to be gone for what they're asking for it. So I've gone through thoroughly and looked at all their test records on their pumps, their ladders. I've contacted their vendors, and everybody is telling me that this truck is in very good condition. This is not a truck that runs on every call of every day. This truck's 20 years old. It's got 30,000 miles on it. 30,000 miles, that's 1,500 miles a year. And that's for a bigger city of 30,000 people. You know, this is a truck that we're not going to be running it up and down the road.
3 parades a year.
Exactly. Training and the ability to be able to go out and structurally fight a large fire on an industrial park, a downtown fire, and or if we had somebody that was, needed medical attention that was on a roof that we couldn't get them off. We'd have the basket on this truck to have that ability to do that.
An ISO rating.
And it would help our ISO
ISO
rating.
rating.
And I actually called the ISO auditor today, and I got some questions for him. Once again, just kind of preliminary, just trying to feel this process out to see how
Positive effect it would have.
exactly. So here's where if all the stars align, here's where I would need your guys' help, and here's how my plan is to purchase this. So they're looking at, once again, Sparta just purchased a truck like this about 3 years ago or so, and they paid about $500,000 for it. And then they sent it in and had a whole bunch of work done on it on top of it. This truck is going to sell for $175,000. And my presentation to you is there would be no cost to the city of Tomah taxpayers for this apparatus.
So that would mean it would come out of your budget, correct?
So what that means is it's not coming out of the city taxpayer funds. So our fire department fundraising is proposing to pay for this truck. We do not have enough funds right now to pay for the whole thing. We got enough to cover about half of it. And what I would be asking is if we could borrow the balance out of possibly the ambulance fund balance, and then we would make annual payments back to that.
So you want to borrow from the ambulance fund
Yeah.
out of their
Out
fund
of their fund balance, which we currently have about $1.8 million in there.
And then,
So we'd be borrowing about, I can't tell you exactly, let's just say $100,000. And then we would make annual payments back to that fund balance to put it back in.
Bond amount and interest rate or whatever.
In return, this truck will get us 10, 12, maybe 15 years. And, once again, 7 years from now, we're looking at $2.1 million. And we have an opportunity here.
so when are you looking to take out, when did you actually want to?
So once again, we're second on the list.
Okay,
If I get approval tomorrow night from you folks to move forward, my next phone call on Wednesday morning is gonna be to Chief Yankee over there and say, my council approved it. This is how serious we are. And if the city of Pulaski bails out on it, we're ready to move. If not, thank you very much for considering.
and you do have the funds in the ambulance department?
We have currently about $1.8 million in there.
Okay.
So we would be borrowing about $100,000. The only negative impact is that I don't like about it is it kind of takes away our ability as a fundraising group to be able to go out and we buy a lot of little equipment throughout the year, you know, it's like our 4-gas meters and different tools and different little things, and it's gonna pinch us there. You know, we gotta have so many funds in our bank account per se to keep our events going. So we gotta watch that. So, you know, one year we may be able to throw this much in, and the next year, maybe it's not quite as much, maybe it's this. But annually, we've been fundraising, I'm going to tell you, between $22,000 and $30,000 a year that we've been donating back to city fire department equipment.
So my 2 cents here is, I think it's a no-brainer. I think we're not gonna get that nice of a truck for that price ever again. So if we can, get this truck and get it in our firehouse, I think we should do it. So I don't know if we need a motion tonight, but yes, I would move to purchase this truck, what Chief Adler had in mind for the financing part of it.
I am gonna give you one more con, just to share with you, is, you think we're limited for space right now? I'm going to struggle immensely this winter trying to figure out where I'm going to put some vehicles, but we've already been brainstorming and talking. We may be able to take a couple of our, take our antique, our Buffalo, and somebody may be able to store that for us, or a couple of our brush trucks that we don't need to use in the winter time and put in some storage, jockey some things around. I know the city's tight on space, but until the new building got done, obviously then we won't have a problem, but we will be pinched for space this winter, and we're just gonna have to be very creative, and I'm sure we can come up with an alternative if we needed to.
Mitch, did I hear you made a motion to approve?
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
second.
motion to approve.
Do we have any funds that we wouldn't have to strap all their
I,
fundraising ability?
I think the fire ladder truck would fall under TID funding eligibility, at least a portion of it.
No,
No?
no,
Why not?
he has, the ambulance, he has a fund in the ambulance that should cover the whole thing.
But it's for the city, so why should they have to fundraise to pay for it? The city should pay
No,
for it.
Yeah.
I disagree.
I think that's a good point of using some of the TID money. Was that Richard? I think that's a good point. I think, you know, it could be possible to use some of the funding, you know, we could use half of the funding, and then, you know, if they want to continue paying half or whatever. I think we get this, you know, approved, that we're serious about it, and then go from there. Because I don't think we want to let this truck sit through our hands.
Is this one of the things where, if at least we want to approve purchasing it with however we need to purchase it now, but when the payment comes in, we can decide
How we're gonna
after
fund
the
it.
fact how it's going to go? I mean, at this point, it sounds like we're not sure we're definitely going to get it. This is more of like, we gotta strike while the iron's hot. I don't necessarily want to get buried in a,
Debate on where the money
This
comes from.
is why I wanted to come to you guys tonight, because if I come to you guys in the end of June with this, it's probably going to be gone. So I wanted to have that jump start just in case, you know, we did have the ability to purchase it, that I can tell
get the
them guys,
authority to move forward.
we're in or we're out, you know, and I don't want to leave them guys hanging.
so
My
between,
motion, I guess. You
go
know,
ahead, Mitch.
My motion is to approve him to purchase this, and then we can figure out the funding if we get it. I mean, we're second in line, hopefully we get it, but, I mean, that's, opportunities like this, on table very often, so we gotta take the opportunity when we can get it.
And just food for thought, one of the points that the chief made for usability on this is in the event that somebody on a roof, injured, whatever, it can be used in a rescue situation. You know, thereby, do we really need to borrow the money from the ambulance, or do we look at it as a dual-purpose use vehicle where the fire department would pay for half of it and the ambulance department would pay for the other half?
That's a really interesting thought,
That's a
actually.
good way to
It's
think.
an ambulance committee decision and discussion and a city discussion on part of it.
Nellie,
So what was, Mike, I didn't hear all of,
So Mike's idea is that, granted that one of the uses might be that if rescue needs to get to someone on top of a building or something that we wouldn't otherwise have access to, that the
Yes.
ladder truck could be used in that instance, which makes it kind of a dual purpose fire and ambulance device, so that the ambulance could be considered a party that would be able to provide funds, because it's something they would also use from as well.
Presently, rescue is part of the fire department, not the ambulance service.
That's a fair point. Fair point. But is it, one of the things, Molly, we're not out of line.
I don't think there would be any major objection from the ambulance commission to help with the funding as far as upfront.
Sure, knowing that they're gonna get paid back. Molly, is there any issue that if we approve this for the plan that Chief has put before us tonight, that if, like, next month we decide that maybe some of it should come from TID, if we wanna have the conversation, it's something we can discuss then, or do we need to know where the money comes from now?
I think that as long as we have, the backup plan, I will say, that the ambulance would blend it to fire, I would be okay with it. Typically, I would not be okay with making a purchase this large when we don't know where the fund would come from, but I have researched a little bit, the use of TID money for this purchase, and I wasn't finding anything that was a slam dunk, but we can certainly talk to our consultants, Vanderwall, and see what their thoughts are, and I can have more information for you. I'm not sure if I'd have it by tomorrow night, but certainly by next meeting.
Okay, but so long as we have money now, which, Tim, you do, we should be at least okay for right now to go forward with what's been presented right now.
If I remember correctly, when we did the bonding issue, there should be 90,000 coming back to the ambulance fund from the initial.
that's a discussion that, I don't remember talking about the 90,000 for
That was
anything.
the 90,000 that the ambulance paid on the initial payment to Keller.
Richard, that is correct.
Okay, we have any further discussion on the purchase of the truck as was presented by Tim just now? All right, we had a motion by, second to approve the purchase. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, thanks. I should hear, I would guess by the end of May if Pulaski's gonna take it or not, so I'll keep you updated.
Good luck, it's a crazy good
Good luck
deal.
finding another one.
All right, agenda item 16, renewal of Class B liquor and Class B fermented malt beverage licenses, Class B fermented malt beverage license, Class C wine beverage license.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, I got a motion by Nellie and a second by Sean. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Is there a typo in 17? It's the Tavern League, right, not the Tomah Lions Club?
I
That's
think
doing,
it's in the agenda that's in there.
is that what it is? Yeah. Because I have special beer permit application for the Tomah Lions Club for the Monroe County Tavern League.
And they get their own, yeah.
Yeah, that's for the Monroe County Tavern League, not the Lions Club. That's a typo on the agenda.
Okay, so we'll go to agenda item 17, special beer permit application for the Monroe County Tavern League, January 13th to 15th, 2023.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Dean, second by Nellie. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 18, special beer and wine permit application for the North American Squirrel Association, July 9th, 2022.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I got a motion by Dean and a second by John. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I would entertain a motion
Motion
to
to
adjourn.
adjourn.
Second.
I got a motion by Dean and a second by Lamont. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned as of 8:39.